But the person who I thought stood out the most in that match, and I think everybody on our YouTube poll over at 83weeks.com, we had our folks over at our YouTube say, "Hey, what was the favorite moment you had of the show?" And it was Tiffany Stratton Swanton off the pod.
Yeah.
It won with 37%. I saw her about a year ago, I think, maybe a little longer on NXT. And I don't know why, but my wife and I both saw it at the same time. And she said before I could, "Hey, she's going to be a big star." And I've talked to ladies who were on the main roster and they all kind of think the same thing. It does feel like where once upon a time we had this crop of ladies go to the main roster, and Sasha and Bailey and Charlotte and Becky. It feels like, man, I know they're coming in waves, but Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton, boy, that might be the future of WWE women's wrestling. What'd you think of Tiffany and her presentation?
Very excited for her. And I can see why everybody reacted the way they did to her, because she really put on a hell of a show. What is she, like 20?
24, born
24.
in 1999, Eric.
Oh my gosh.
But she's one of your people, Prior Lake, Minnesota. So she's a Minnesota girl, done good here.
Really? I used to live in Prior Lake.
How about that?
That's where we live. That's where Mrs. B and the kids and I lived right before. Well, we lived there, then we moved to Atlanta.
Well, how about that?
Wow.
I love Tiffany's presentation. I think it's clear she's going to be a big star. As long as she can stay healthy, dude, the sky's the limit for her and Rhea Ripley. Like, you got to assume in a couple of years, that's going to be a WrestleMania main event right there.
Boy, that NXT is paying off, isn't it?
You know, that's what's funny. I'm glad you say that, because every now and again I'll talk to somebody who says, "Boy, what a waste of money that was." And I'm like,
no,
really? I don't know if it's that. I mean, I even saw some comments. I guess Dominic did an interview where he said, and I don't have this down pat, but I think the gist of it is he went back to the NXT, to the Performance Center to work on just getting more consistent. This is once he's already on the main roster. So to have a place like that in your back pocket, whether it's somebody coming back like The Rock who wants to work off some ring rust, somebody like John Cena who just lives up the road and wants to come hang out and pass it on and let people sit under his learning tree, so to speak. Or just a guy like Dominic who says, "Hey, I got a lot of heat, but maybe I could be a little better once the bell rang. I think I'm going to go work down there at the PC." That thing's paying dividends.
Huge dividends. And if you think about it, I don't know what the financials are for NXT, but I mean, they've got a television show out of the deal. I'm sure from a financial perspective, it's making money for them.
Yes.
But I think the real value is in the talent they're turning out. You look at the talent that's come through NXT and made it to the main roster, and the kind of money that they're generating on the main roster. I don't know how you keep building new and fresh talent, especially that are ready for prime time. Braun Breaker, see you on the big show here. I mean, you get one or two superstars out of that NXT initiative and it's paid for itself. And they seem to be cranking out a lot of potentially really big stars.
How about this, Eric? Tiffany Stratton went to one of those open tryouts in the summer of 2021. So here we are a couple of years later.
She's 21 years old when she did that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's so impressive to me what she's been able to do so quickly. And I do think what you said, it's proof positive that, man, it can help fast track some success. I got a lot of mixed feedback about this online. We saw over on YouTube and things like that. Like a fellow named Frank says, "Hey, Eric, the ending of the women's chamber I thought was weak. Is there another way you would have booked that?" I did see some criticism of that. I mean, I think I shouldn't say we all. I wanted to see Becky progress, but what do you think of the ending?
I was entertained by it.
Okay.
It was fast. The pace of the match, the finish came quickly. Usually it seems to me that, especially on big shows, the PLEs, the finishes almost have an arc their own. It's almost like a 3-act play, just the finish. You can see it coming just when you think you know what's going to happen. It's not going that way. It's going a different way. WWE has always done a great job with finishes consistently. But I thought the finish fit the match, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It kind of, I like finishes that sometimes feel like they come from out of nowhere and develop quickly, because it feels real, especially when you're used to seeing kind of a 3-dimensional or 3-act finish. Sometimes it's nice when they just come at you fast like that, fast and hard. It's believable. I didn't overthink it. You know, when I watch these things, it's like, am I entertained? That's the first question. Was it fun to watch? Yes. Was I impressed with the physicality? Did it make sense? Was it telling a story? Yeah, it sure did. Does it lead us to something? Or is it just a match for the sake of a match?
Right.
Clearly, this one is leading us somewhere. So for my criteria, I love the hell out of it. I guess if you wanted to analyze for the sake of analyzing and perhaps debate, you could probably argue it, but I wouldn't see any purpose in it.
Let's talk a little bit about the reaction here that Keep It Wolfson said. If that swanton happened in AEW, talking about you, Eric, you'd be talking about how unsafe it was. I don't know about that.
When was the last? Who was that? Who wrote that? What was that guy's name? Keep It Wolfson. Keep It Wolfson. When was the last time you've ever heard me comment about safety issues in AEW or anywhere else? If you can find that, if you can find a recording and send it to me, I'll send you an apology, handwritten, in a box of chocolates. However, you will not be able to find that. I do not have to go out and buy chocolates. Unlike the bets that I've made recently and lost hair over, I'm 100% confident when I say to you, you're not going to find it, because I don't comment on things like that. I very rarely comment on in-ring action, period, because I don't feel like I'm an expert in that area. I'm not a wrestler. I've never trained anybody to be a wrestler. I don't really have any experience as a performer in that regard. So I'm very, very reluctant, particularly when it comes to things that are safe and unsafe. I will point out things I like and don't like, or believe or don't believe, or allow me to appreciate what I'm watching. But safety will not be one of those issues. So you can apologize on the next episode, unless, of course, you find tape. And I'd love to hear it.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what AdFreeShows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-Free Shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that AdFreeShows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. AdFreeShows.com.